Last week I announced that I was selling all of my Sony gear to switch to Fujifilm, and my friends, this week I'm currently recording on the new Fujifilm X-T4. And I cannot be happier. Yes, my friends, the switch has officially been made and I settled on the X-T4. Thank you so much to everybody who made recommendations or suggestions as to which model I should get. A lot of you said I should get the X-T3. Some of you said I should get the XS10 or the XE4 or the XH1. I have them all written down there because there are only so many X's I decided to go with the X-T4. It just ticked all the boxes for me, and I honestly feel like it's a match made in heaven. Granted, again, this is its first maiden voyage into the land of video. There are still so many things I need to learn and explore. As opposed to giving my full review on this camera and thoughts and, impressions this week, I'm gonna hold off and do that next week. So I'll have a little bit more time to play with it and give you a full, well-rounded roundup of what I think about the X-T4. But so far, I'm loving what I'm seeing. I honestly have no idea what this is going to look like when I bring it into Premiere and edit it, so it's all a surprise. And if you are curious, yes, I am shooting f-log, and I'm shooting on the 18 to 55 millimeter lens kit, which is an excellent camera, by the way. So far, I have no complaints about it. I did order some other lenses, including the 16 to 55 2.8 lens that is still coming in the mail, but I will cover lenses and the X-T4 in the next episode. But in the meantime, I thought I would give you a little update on this guy, my Fuji X100V, and to share my experience as a beginner street photographer, because I recently got into street photography, maybe about I would say middle of last year. So I still consider myself very, very new, very green when it comes to street photography. But if you are new to street photography like me, or thinking about getting into it, I thought I would just share some little gems or pearl of wisdom that I've gleaned over the past couple of months. So gather around, grab a cup of something, and let's chat about it. Or if you are a seasoned, well-established street photographer, sit back and get a good laugh. You're welcome. But before I get into that, I want to sincerely apologize to those who were watching last week and absolutely cringing because my lens hood was off kilter. The entire episode, it was just wonky and sitting like that. And I had no idea until I was editing it. And I just want to say that I was right there with you, cringing along as I was editing. Like, why? Why, Kristin? Why couldn't you just see that it was lopsided and just take a second and correct it? Yeah, it was bugging me too. So I apologize. It shall never, ever happen again. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's chat about the Fujifilm X100V. Still loving it. It is amazing. It is my little buddy. I take it everywhere, especially this week, because here on the East Coast, we got hit with a mega snowstorm. I kid you not. There are piles and mountains of snow outside my window, and we're just waiting for it all to melt into slushy, dark gray sludge. So good times ahead. And while I desperately wanted to grab my camera and go out and capture the storm in all of its glory, sadly that was not in the cards because I was without a weather-sealed camera. Yes, my Sony had already been sold off along with all the weather-sealed lenses. And while I had the X-T4, I'm still waiting on the 16 to 55 millimeter, which is weather-sealed. The 18 to 55 is not. And at the time, my Fuji X100V was not fully weather-sealed. But I'm happy to report that it currently is fully weather sealed. So the next time, the next snowstorm, we're gonna go see about a storm. While I didn't get to capture the snowstorm in action, I did wait until the next day to go out and capture the aftermath. It was flurrying a little bit, but not to the point where I felt I was compromising my camera at all. These are some shots that I got on the first day going out, and I shot them in black and white using the Acros film simulation. And my reasoning behind going with all black and white, I think, is because I will be totally honest, I wasn't too pleased with the way these photos turned out. I feel like they could have been better, but the weather still wasn't the best. But I did find with gloves on and the wind and flurries kind of flying at my eyes, it made it a little challenging to get focus and compose. And anyway, I decided at the end of the day, when in doubt, go black and white. And as a beginner street photographer, I'm not gonna beat myself up over this. You know, you go out, you win some, you lose some. Frankly, at this point, I'm just going out to learn and to have fun, and that's my philosophy at this point. The second day, I had a little bit more luck. The weather was a lot more agreeable, and I shot in color. I used the classic negative film simulation, which I'm warming up to. I'm liking it a lot. I did shoot JPEG and RAW. I did take the RAW files into Lightroom and edit them ever so slightly. When it comes to my personal editing style, I happen to not like blue tones. Sometimes here and there, but for the most part, I have a tendency to desaturate all the blues. There's just something about blue that I'm allergic to. So, except when it comes to something like the sky. On a beautiful sunny day with a blue sky, I do desaturate it a little bit, but I do leave a little bit of the blue in because you do want it to appear natural, unless you're going for fantasy. But when it came to editing these photos, I just slurped those blue tones right out because, let's face it, I just don't like blue. Sorry, not sorry. My own personal brand of crazy. All that to say that it is going extremely well with my Fujifilm X100V. It comes with me everywhere. It's what I reach for when I just want to go out and take a walk and get some shots. But more on that next week, and my thoughts on how it fits in with the X-T4 and how I'm going to be using these cameras and interchangeably, because that's a whole nother topic, a whole nother episode. But I do want to touch on, you know, my experience as a beginner street photographer, because I do have some thoughts when it comes to street photography. As a beginner, when I first dipped my toes into it, I had these grand plans, like I'm gonna get these gorgeous shots of, you know, people eating in cafes and reflections, and, you know, I'm gonna get all these awesome, amazing, ethereal street photos. But I hail from Bushwick, Brooklyn. I don't know if you're familiar with Bushwick, Brooklyn, but it's not so pretty. It's urban, it's rough, there's lots of graffiti, and to be quite honest, it's kind of dirty. At least my block. My block has just garbage everywhere. It's not something that excites me, that makes me want to go out and shoot street photography. I will be completely honest. I forget where I read this quote or this piece of advice, where I picked it up from, but I will paraphrase it. And that is, when you don't feel inspired or excited to shoot something, when everything around you is mundane or boring, just shoot it anyway. Shoot it anyway, because there's going to be someone out there who finds it interesting, and the main takeaway from this is that you learn something. Even though Bushwick may not be like the streets of Paris, I'm still getting out there, practicing, honing my skills as a street photographer, and learning so much in the process. So, you know, when I do go out on walks, I just look for anything that catches my eye, that interests me, and see how I can compose it. I'm learning about composition. I'm learning how to use my camera to zoom with my feet, and self-confidence. I mean, that is a big one, because like many beginners, we all feel self-conscious going out there and shooting strangers. What are people thinking? Are they gonna yell at me if I take a photo of them? Are they gonna think I'm weird? I don't think we ever get over feeling entirely self-conscious, but going out there and doing it more often definitely helps. And I will say, the snow has definitely helped, because there are people out there that are more concerned about not slipping and falling on their ass than you taking a photo. And another tip that I found incredibly helpful when it comes to feeling self-conscious and shooting is, when you are out there and you're feeling nervous or self-conscious or awkward, embrace it. Embrace the awkwardness. Feel it. Sit with it and just get excited about it. Like, oh my God, this is so awkward. And call me crazy, but that has helped me in so many instances. Just, you know, embracing that awkwardness and just going for it, you know, and just using that energy and channeling it into just taking the photo and getting it. I'm not saying it's helped me 100% of the time, but for the most part, you know, I'm still nervous when it comes to, you know, getting close-up portraits of people. It's something I really want to get over, because I'm still thinking about this one shot that I really wanted to get. When I was out on a photo walk yesterday, I saw this one woman digging her car out of the snow, and she was shoveling and, you know, putting a lot of work into it, and then, you know, she puts her shovel down and just leans on it and just looks. And the expression was all over her face, and I had every opportunity to just take up my camera and get the shot, but I didn't because you know, I was nervous. I thought, you know, oh my gosh, what if she catches me? Not to mention, she did have a shovel and she looked quite angry. I didn't want to take my chances, but at the same time, I'm just like, I could have gotten it, you know? And I'm still thinking about that shot right now. Her expression was just, oh, so good. And I love taking portraits, and if I can incorporate that into street photography, that would be so awesome. But as you know by now, the X100V has a fixed lens, 28mm or equivalent 35mm on an APS-C. While this lens is incredibly versatile for a lot of situations, if I really wanted to get what I wanted to get out of that one scene right there, I would have had to actually go up to her and say, "Hi, I'm gonna take your photo now if that's okay." Something that I really just don't feel too comfortable doing at this point in my experience as a street photographer. So that got me thinking, if I really enjoy portrait photography and want to capture more portraits when it comes to street photography, why don't I try a portrait lens such as a 50mm or an 85mm? 85 is my favorite portrait lens, and I actually did purchase a used 56 f1.2 lens for the Fuji X-T4. I think that'll be a worthy experiment, because if I do enjoy the way that focal length works for street photography, it might be worth investing in the telephoto adapter for the Fuji X100V. But getting back to connecting with the photographs that you're taking and achieving the feeling and vibe that you're going for when you set out to take photos, I find it really inspiring. You know, even though Bushwick is not my cup of tea when it comes to things that I want to photograph or capture, it is really fun to go out and find these little pockets of my neighborhood that have elements that speak to me, that you know, that allow me to capture moods and vibes that, you know, that emulate my style of photography. In my neighborhood, if I walk a couple of blocks over, there's this whole strip of dilapidated mansions and row houses and brownstones that are, you know, some are well kept, some are not so much, but there's this haunting quality about them. And there are statues, they're like these creepy trees. So I try to find those elements and see how I can make them fit within my aesthetic, if that makes any sense. And those are my thoughts as a beginner street photographer thus far. I hope you find this inspiring or helpful, glean from it whatever you may, and I'm curious to know what you guys think. I'm always curious and excited to hear your experiences when it comes to this stuff, so, you know, comments down below. And that said, that'll do it for me this week. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. If you haven't already, please feel free to like and subscribe down below. I put out a video for your viewing pleasure every week. And by the way, we are quickly coming upon 1,000 subscribers. Oh my gosh, what? What? That's crazy sauce. Thank you so much, guys. I'm so happy that you are enjoying my little corner of the interwebs. I'm having so much fun putting out content and look forward to putting out even more for you. I will be back next week with my thoughts on the Fujifilm X-T4, along with what lenses I purchased, and until the next video, I'll see you next time. Bye!